Welcome to Chatterbox Radio. Sometimes things go your way. Sometimes they don't. Life, kids, heaven. It's quite the journey. We hope you'll join us.
Hey, Carrie Schmidt.
Hi, Carrie
I'm
Farris.
So excited that you're here with me today to discuss your book. We were just talking for like 30 seconds, and she's like, so what'd you think of the book? And I'm like, I'm hitting record right now because I want to tell her firsthand. I don't want it to be the second time. But yeah, this book right here, Uncover the Truth, Connect to Your Power, Passion, and Purpose. The name of the book is called Behind the Screen by Carrie Schmidt. And I didn't seek her out. She didn't seek me out. This was a blessing that came to me. This book was for me. I know. And I want to share it with all of you. How I met Carrie was through a mental health panel that we were on, and through Rich Bennett. And I don't know, how did you meet Rich?
So
How did you
I
get to
was
know
on
him?
a podcast connection thing called Podmatch, and I think I met Rich through Podmatch because when I published the book, I've been on like over 50 podcasts. I was just like the podcast queen for like 8 months after I published the book. So I met Rich through that, and we really connected when we were recording the episode for his. And we talked about mental health, and I'm like, I am such a mental health advocate, and I just feel like we need to get the information out there to people. And I want people to know that you're not alone. If you're struggling behind the screen, whatever you might view that screen as, there's so many different ways to view it. But if you're struggling, if you're stuck in any type of darkness, depression, anxiety, just thoughts of suicide, I want to be a light that shines for you and shows you that it's not easy. Life is not easy. I mean, we go through hills and valleys. We have, as a parent, I'm a single mother, so it's not easy. I've struggled. I still struggle. So, and I think that we need to open up and we need to share our stories and share our truth versus trying to put on this facade of everything's okay when it's not. Because if we could open up and be more true and vulnerable with ourselves, I think we could spread more love and make this world a better place versus the judgment, comparison, criticism, all of the other stuff that goes on. So I just felt like I needed to share that. And so, yeah, Rich and I connected through mental health awareness. And then I just keep making these divine connections like with you, Carrie Farris. So I'm just grateful. I'm
It
grateful
is,
for the
for
platform
sure.
and the avenue.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here. I don't know if you can see the screen right now. Can you see your
Uh-huh.
screen?
Yeah.
And the technology, it's kind of fuzzy. And so sometimes that will happen and it'll end up being okay. But I'm like, the irony of it, because like behind the screen and like it's shattered. And can you see your screen right now? Does it look fine
Yes.
to
Mine
you?
looks good.
It does? Okay,
Yes.
okay. So anyway, I'm just sitting here thinking like, wow, like that whole symbolism of it, because that's what you talk about is behind the screen, and your screen is going like nuts on my end. And so exactly like, what do you mean like behind the screen when you're talking about that in your book?
So there's a couple different ways to look at it. So you could look at it behind the screen of social media. We look at social media and we scroll through and we like and we love and we view other people's lives, but it's not always the truth. It's not always real. I write in the book, I say, you could look at this picture perfect family, this picture on social media where, the husband and wife, they're so in love and their kids are so happy. And you view it from that perspective. But right before the photographer snapped that picture, they could have just had the biggest fight of their lives and they could be going through a divorce. And you just wouldn't know that because
Yes.
it's fake, right? We,
Right.
edit these pictures and videos and make it look like perfect, and life just isn't perfect. There's so much that goes on behind the screen that you don't know about. You could look at, I say you could look at a woman with a fancy ring and it's just bling bling, where her husband's a narcissist and she's miserable and dying inside. You just never know. So that's one way to look through the screen. The other way, I talk a lot about the power of our mind in the book and the difference between your conscious and subconscious mind. And I didn't realize this stuff. I didn't know it until I was in my 30s. So I dove down the rabbit hole researching the fundamentals of like psychology and neuroscience and quantum physics. And it's like, holy crap, our subconscious mind runs our life 90% of the time. And as adults, sometimes we're operating in our lives by autopilot. And so the screen is getting into your subconscious mind and kind of clearing out some of the faulty programs that have been installed. Childhood programming, if you went through trauma, if you went through any type of abuse, or, even if it's emotional abuse or verbal abuse, those thoughts and feelings become wired into your subconscious mind and your body. And then later on in life, myself included, we are, reacting to triggers from people, triggers from our environment. And then it brings up, our subconscious is so powerful, it brings up those feelings from the past that you're not even conscious of. Then it could negatively impact your results in life. So that's another way to look at the screen, is our subconscious programming.
Cool. Well, I've read/listened to like 200 books in the past 2 years. Just devoured, right? Learning and knowing, because I'll learn something about myself that I didn't know before. And I'm like, I want to dig a little deeper. What does that mean? My kids, my husband, just because I want to seek a great life, I want to incorporate all of the things. And so I started reading the book. I took a picture of it and emailed you, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be honest. I've read a lot of books, listened to a lot of books. First thing that you kind of started mentioning was Gabby Bernstein, Wayne Dyer, all those people that I love, that I listen to, and like what you were talking about growing up, I mean, I had a couple of real revelations, and I went to my mom and I was like, this, and this, and she was like, oh, Wayne Dyer, I've been listening to him since the 70s. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me any of this? She was like, you were so young. I'm like, I'm 51 years old. Why didn't you tell me these things? This is so enlightening, because I can incorporate my spirituality, the way that I grew up, people call religious, my Christian beliefs, and incorporate these things that seems just to make a lot more, sense to me. So my point is, read all these books. Okay, first question. Did you do Gabby Bernstein's masterclass?
No, Gabby was the first.
Okay.
She inspired me to write a book. I listened to The Universe Has Your Back, I think. One of her books I listened to, and I was like, I'm going to write my own book. I'm going to publish my story. Like, Gabby inspired me to do this. No, I never went through any of her master classes,
awesome.
but I've been following her.
I did. They're amazing. I have dove deep into my spirituality, my walk, my journey. Let me tell you what's different about this book and why I love it so much. Is because out of all the books that I've read, there's been some really great direction and some good stories. A lot of the ideals are good, right? Very applicable. Yours is like, I'm digging into these stories in this book, and I am in it with you, girl, all the way, and love it and can relate to it, not just my own life. But when you talk about the teenage years and the examples and what you did, I'm like, I did that. My dad was just like that. Different circumstances. I dated a boy like that. That happened to me. I'm outside last night having dinner with my kids. And I'm kind of all over the place, but this is how much I love this book. And I want
Um,
everybody that's listening to this, just go preview it before you buy it, because you're going to buy it. It's amazing. So I'm reading this, and it even made me think about the relationships with my children, because you talk about your sister, and you talk about the words that she said to you for years and years, going back to what you just said earlier about the subconscious and the programming. And I'm not kidding you. It was like last night, and a light bulb went on, and I just went, all right, girls, listen to this.
yes.
All right, I'm going to read this. You just walked out here, and you just totally reamed your brother with the most negative words. All right, come here. And I'm not pointing you out, number 4th child. I'm pointing all of you out, and myself.
Yeah.
Because every time you do it, it's going in there.
Yes.
This is what happened to this girl. Listen to this. And the 9-year-old, the 14-year-old, the 18-year-old went,
Oh,
never thought of that. So
wow.
there's so many nuggets in this book.
Like that's the reason why I wrote this book. Like, oh my God, what you just said, Carrie, makes my heart so happy. It makes me almost want to cry, because that was my intention with sharing these stories that like caused me so much pain and just suffering throughout my life. And it's like, okay, how can I use my stories to help others? And that's really what I want to do, is I want to help our children, my children, your children, get better at life and realize that words have power. Our thoughts have so much power, and if they could understand that at a younger age, then they might choose differently, choose to talk to their siblings differently, choose to, show up differently in life. Oh, thank you.
Exactly my point, because I tell my kids all the time, I know I'm discovering new things about myself, and there are things that I've discovered over the years. But I want to teach you this because no one taught me this at your age. And if I knew this at your age, it would have helped me in my decision making and everything that I did.
Yeah, same.
Your boyfriends, your school, and where you're being led.
Yes.
So it leads me to another question that I have for you, because I'm curious, because, some people will listen to this who are devout Christians. There are people that are still trying to figure things out, or maybe go away from that, or they're just on that spiritual journey trying to figure things out. So you have several stories, and I can't bring them all up here, and I could pull out, your son or Trey or Colt, those people. But what do you think? What story was pivotal for you in your life and your changed? Because I don't want to give it all away, but she grew up in a pretty rough household. My heart goes out to you. No teenager should be left alone like that. And you can imagine when that happens, the consequences.
So what story has had the most impact on me? Is that the question?
What was that pivotal change? Was it your son? Was it having your
My
son?
My
Because
son
in
was
your book, it kind of seemed...
Yeah, my son was the pivotal change for me. It was like, I was so scared. I used to have dreams, like when I was pregnant, because I went through a really rough pregnancy. The father was abusive, more so mentally abusive and just not healthy. And so it was a rough pregnancy, and I was so scared to have the child because I never even changed a baby's diaper before I had my son.
Wow.
Yeah, I swear to
How
God.
old were you again? Were you like 23?
I was 25 when I had him. Yes. Anyway, I would have I remember having a dream before he was born that the doctor pulled a chicken out and the chicken didn't have any feathers.
I just read that.
And I was like, okay, put him back in. He's not ready. And so I think subconsciously I was so afraid. I mean, I was sleeping on my sister's couch, like, 8 months pregnant, and just afraid of how I'm going to raise this child because I was in an unhealthy relationship and it just wasn't good. Anyway, my son was born and it was like a light bulb turned on. It was like God shined everything in front of me and said, "This is why you're here." And it just, everything shifted for me. I was like, I can do anything because I'm doing it for him. I'm doing it for this innocent baby who just grew inside of me. So it completely shifted my whole outlook on life. I just wanted to get better. Before him, I was in survival mode. I was just trying to survive. And I turned off all of my caring. I turned off all of my feeling and filled it with drugs and alcohol and partying and everything else that could allow me the opportunity to not feel the pain that I felt for so long, right? And those become suppressed emotions. And those suppressed emotions will stick with you throughout life. Well, I didn't know any of that. I was just trying to survive. You know, I didn't have anybody to rely on. I didn't have a family really. So I was just trying to survive. But then once I had my son, it's like, I don't matter anymore. Nothing else matters. This innocent life matters. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to devote my time, energy, and attention to making sure he's fine. And that's what I did I've been doing it. He's now 16. And I'm so blessed because my son has not done drugs, alcohol, isn't into girls, doesn't party. Like he's into his health and fitness, eating healthy, working out. It's like I'm amazed. But
That's
it
amazing.
works. It really does. Like I can testify to, if you just, fill your kids up with positive words and positive energy and try to just give them the best. And that's what I tried to do. So I'm blessed.
So did you grow up in any kind of spiritual atmosphere or religious background?
Yeah, so I was raised Catholic. And, I say my prayers, I'll still bless myself. But as I got older, I couldn't understand this praying to a God in the sky. Like it was like, there's just too much humanness for this God, right? And so I believe in a higher power. I believe in God, okay? But I think that religions separate us. And it's like, okay, you have to follow this particular religion, but I can judge you. That's not fair. I don't think that that's what it is. I believe that I am that I am is this spirit, this soul that's breathing each and every one of us is God. We have God inside of us. We are one with him. I think that's what Jesus and Buddha and all the spiritual teachers have tried to show us, is that your thoughts, feelings, and actions become your reality. And so when you can connect to your spiritual power within and choose that versus the ego, like I talk a lot about ego versus spirit, and you can look at life through an egoic perspective and you're going to live that particular life, or you can look at life through a spiritual perspective and you'll see different results. Your viewpoint of every situation becomes your own reality. So, whatever religion or somebody believes in, I believe in spirituality. I believe in that there's one higher power that connects us all, and we're all connected. And when we can tap into that power within us, we can become better at life. And when I become better at life, I have a ripple effect on those around me. And so then it all just...
That's right.
Yeah.
You sure do. So, like with the book, what you were just saying, it's like, I can read this, relate to it, use your stories to get my point across to myself, my family, whoever I'm reading it to, but to also, how am I trying to say? It's not like you're trying to teach this certain way of spirituality in this book. It is like a life coach program that if you feel stuck, And if you want to live your ultimate purpose, power, passion, here is a formula to follow.
Yeah.
And you have us create this timeline. And you've created these words to go with it, like tag it. That would be, I'm thinking back in my childhood and, this very traumatic event happened that is still stuck right here, right? Mm-hmm. And you help walk through that. You tag it, and I'm going to get it all wrong. Feel it, all the things, several steps, you eventually release it. Because one thing you said that is profound and amazing, and I loved it, we were talking about it last night, was, I don't know if everybody realizes, but energy, how would you...
It's okay. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed.
Yes,
so everything is energy. The only thing you can do is shift the energy, and we can go from a low vibration to a high vibration. And there's actually the map of consciousness. Like, there's so much that goes into it that when you understand the science, like what I like to call the science behind spirituality, and apply it to your life, you can make such a difference when you understand that. So yeah, it can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. So how can you transform the energy that you're holding on to, right?
Yeah, because it's this visual that you give. And it made me really think about it. I'm like, okay, for those of you that don't want to deal, or maybe you're like, that's way too woo-woo. That's not spirituality. You can apply your own beliefs in spirituality to the program. Mm-hmm. And when you do, you realize by me stuffing that for so long, no mm-hmm. telling where it's stuck in my body, but I can get rid of it. And mm-hmm. the lie is that you can't. Right. And the truth is that you can, and that you have to choose to do it. And so I've talked about the pain body before. Well, that pain body is you not wanting to get rid of it and let it sit in there because you kind of like it. You kind of mm-hmm. like swimming around in that mm-hmm. stuff sometimes because it gives you an excuse, helps you to justify things. And I'm saying all this because I'm talking about myself, mm-hmm. So it's been a real figuring out this whole ego thing, mm-hmm. right? Because you're like, well, you got to have ego to wake up in the morning and to take a shower. But that ego can go way off into another rabbit trail in direction.
Yeah.
So, with this book, that's kind of my circle back around when I was talking to you about your spirituality. And I think this is for everyone, and that it's not a woo-woo thing. Why do I hear that all the time? I just do.
Well, I think, and that's why I try to provide so many statistics and so much science to kind of explain the woo-woo-ness. Like, when people say woo-woo, I think it's ignorance. You're not educated mm-hmm. in the science that can back everything that we're saying. Right? And I mean, there's new science. They're rewriting the science textbooks because in just the 2000s, they have found out so much more information about the power of our mind and the synaptic connections and the neurons and the vagus nerve and our reticular activating system, like all of these things that, the reticular activating system to me is one of the most powerful things to understand. It's located in the back of our brain, in the brainstem, and whatever you're paying attention to in your daily world, your reticular activating system is going to filter into your awareness more of that. So for instance, if you just bought a new car and you're driving and you start seeing that car everywhere, it's not because they manufactured a bunch of those cars this month and released them in your area. It's because your reticular activating system is paying attention to that car. So the same is true if you vision your ideal man or woman or your soulmate or this person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You can start to, visualize what that person looks like. What are their values? What do they do? How do they show up in the world? And then your reticular activating system will start paying attention to that. Because we have so much stimuli that we encounter on a daily basis in our environment. And especially with social media and the internet, like there's so much information that our brains are trying to filter through. So why visualization is important and the law of attraction makes sense is because our reticular activating system is then going to start to filter those particular things and say, oh, here you go, Carrie, pay attention to that. Okay, thank you. So we can actually program our minds to work for us versus against us.
Yes. And this is the first time that I've read or heard anyone explain the other side of it. For years and years, it's all you see on Facebook, people talking as, oh, this is my vision board, and I'm going to manifest that. Mm-hmm. And yes, that's good. But there's this very generic, hokey way of 3 cells deep is what I call it, right? You're not going very deep. You're only going 3 cells deep here. Putting this on here and go, I want a boat. I want a vacation. That's good. But the way you described it and why this manifestation is what it is, can you repeat? Or I'll get this book out and I'll just read it to everybody what you said. But I read it to the family last night and I'm like, that's truth. And told my 18-year-old who has 100 friends going, we're manifesting, but we don't believe in anything, right?
Oh my gosh. So you know what? Yes, 100%. And in fact, I'm going to do like a Facebook Live when we get off of this podcast to just teach it. Because I keep telling myself, I want to teach these principles to the world. Like I'm a really smart person. I can do anything. And it's like I have this passion to get this information out to people, especially our teenagers, because they need to know this. They need to understand the why behind these things. I want to speak at high schools and colleges. Future. Yes. So, yeah, the power of our mind. If we can just understand the power of our mind, and the law of attraction is based upon your thoughts and your feelings, and where you're placing your attention is where your energy goes, right? So it's your reticular activating system. What you pay attention to, it's going to filter into your awareness more of that, whatever it is, that boat, right? But and this is what I tell everybody, you can't stop there. Okay, great. You have a vision board. That's great. But you got to take that board and make it way more specific. You have to write out, where do you want to be in your life 3 years from now? So close your eyes, pretend like you get into a time machine, turn the dial 3 years into the future. And when you open your eyes, I want you to explain to me the life that you're living. But at the same time, how are you feeling? Because what we leave out is the law of resonance. What is resonance? I am a tuning fork in the universe. My thoughts and feelings are an antenna for the universe to give me more of what I'm thinking and feeling. So if I'm thinking negative things about myself and others, I'm feeling pretty shitty, and therefore I'm going to get those same results. If I'm thinking positive things about myself and others, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident, I'm going to get different results than the person that's thinking the shitty things. So the law of resonance is really your energy. It's your vibration. Energy is vibration. So if you're vibrating high, you're going to attract more high vibes. If you're vibrating low, you're going to attract more low vibes. But the key is to gain control over your energy at any given moment in time. So if I notice my thoughts or feelings are not in alignment with my vision board, with my idea of what I would love, then I have to pause and I have to shift my energy in the moment to become more in line with my dream. That's how you manifest. The manifestation part is applying the energy, the resonance, just like the tuning fork, right? So you attract who you are. You don't get what you want.
But it also helps you do the things that you need to do, right? You have to take action.
Yes.
Right?
You have to take action. You just can't sit back and say, oh, I want this.
There and doing, Well, some people really do believe that if they make a board or put it there and then they meditate and they just think on it, that it will come to them. But that thinking on it for me, when I'm meditating, that's where I get my answers. That's where I get filled up with the power of God. That's where I feel quiet. That's where I feel like I can hear his voice. That's where I can go higher and raise. I mean, people that say woo-woo, vibration, well, it's a fact that your energy has levels. And when I'm praying to my God and Jesus Christ, I feel my energy go up. So call it with whatever you want, right? So I'm praying that, and I'm there, and that's where I'm receiving my answers every day. And I feel like he tells me, the Holy Spirit presses upon me my next steps. You have to do those next steps. If I don't do those next steps, then I won't manifest what my dreams are. And sometimes it just takes you trying, because it sets it in motion. I feel like God sees that you're trying and is coming to support you, and that energy to push you along, right? Instead of just sitting there and not doing anything. And then saying, see, it doesn't work. It's a bunch.
No, that makes so much sense. And when you get quiet and you hear through your intuition, like you said, you get the answers or the ideas, right? The idea is the power, but it's your willpower to take the action, to take a step forward towards that idea. So when we vision the life we would love, and then we go within and say, okay, what's one thing I can do today that's going to move me a little step closer? You get that idea, the intuition, and you take an action. So I say it's baby steps. Every single day, what's one thing that I can do to move me a little bit closer? Show up for this podcast, make a phone call, do a Facebook Live, whatever those things are. I send emails to high schools and colleges every day. And I don't usually get anything back, but I send an email saying, I would love to do a free workshop for your students. Bring me in. I have books. Let me speak to them for free. Okay? But I'm taking those actions because I know I don't get very many responses, but I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
So those are just some examples of little things. And I do little things every single day that's going to move me a step closer to find my next client, right? Who I'm going to change. I'm going to help them change their life. I'm not doing the work, they are, but I empower you to do the work. And I empower you to take those steps. So when you have this thought and this idea and you want to do it, but then you're scared, it's the fear, doubt, and worry. That's the ego. That's the egoic version in your head saying,
but
don't do it.
Why does your ego go? Why does your ego? Because when we think of ego, we think, oh, you think so great of yourself or whatever. Not just that. It's like opinions. It's I'm right, you're wrong about everything, kind of thing. But it's so much more than that. The ego. Why does the ego say, you can't do that? You're ugly. He won't like you. Whatever it is. What is that?
I think it's, one, it's childhood programming. So there's voices that are saying you're ugly. There's a connection between whatever you heard. Because again, the subconscious brain is just a program, and it is downloaded. It's a download from your childhood. So anything you heard, experienced, felt is then logged into your subconscious program. So then when you go to take an action that goes against your belief system that's wired into you, that's when the fear, the doubt, the worry, those voices come up. So you have to identify that fear's never going to go away. But you can befriend your fear. You can say, okay, I have my clients name their voice. So my one client right now, we named his voice Bill. So we say, shut the F up, Bill. So like every time he hears Bill say those things, okay? I named mine Tina. So every time I hear Tina tell me, you're going to fail, I'm going to say, okay, Tina, you can go away today because I'm taking action anyway.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Okay, so, and this is what I want to teach people is that those voices, put a name to that voice. That way, the next time you hear that voice, you say, shut up, Bill, Tina, Judy, whatever you want to call them.
That's right.
Okay. And then
sit down. Have a seat.
That's right. Okay. But here's the key. The key is to understand that the fear, doubt, and worry this is our fight or flight. Okay. So our bodies are wired for survival. When we are taking steps to get outside of our comfort zone or do something that we haven't done yet, that is your wiring to say, no, I want to protect you. I want to keep you knowing what you already know. And sometimes that's stuck in a terrible relationship that you're miserable in and you're dying in. But because you are afraid to take action to get out of that relationship, you stay stuck because it's comfortable. Your comfort zone is there. So anything you do that's going to step you outside of that comfort zone, your central nervous system is going to say, nope, you shouldn't do that. Right? And that's Bill and Tina saying, nope, you shouldn't do that. But I know that I can only grow when I step outside of my comfort zone. That's the only time I grow. Otherwise, I'm staying in my space.
Right. Not moving forward. Just kind of running in the same spot.
The hamster wheel. So, 90% of people stay stuck. They stay stuck in a job they don't like. They stay stuck in a relationship that is depleting them from the inside out. They stay stuck in their current reality and they think there's nothing I can do. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's so many things that you can do. Okay. And I can give you a list and help you, get past those things. But understanding the fundamentals, energy, vibration, frequency, the fundamentals of life. Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, these people tried to tell us this since the 1900s. And here we are still not understanding that is the root of life.
Yeah. So I want to encourage people, I think one of the first steps is to get her book and practice her teaching in it. The timeline, the tag it, see how that goes. Maybe you don't want to do that. She has a 12-week program. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? You are, your title, you are a life coach. You are an author, you're a writer, you're an encourager, you're all of the things. But what would your tagline be?
So I'm a life and business success coach. I help you go from feeling stuck to feeling fulfilled. If you feel stuck not knowing what's next in life, I help you over the course of 12 weeks define what you would really love in life, create a blueprint for that life, okay? Because you can't get to your dream, you have to come from it. That's what my mentor, Mary Morrissey, says. So we define what you would really love, and then we uncover what's holding you back, the limiting beliefs, the repressed emotions, the childhood programming, all the things that are holding you back from resonating with your vision, from achieving your vision. We go through. We do forgiveness practices. We turn a sense of lack into a feeling of abundance. Because like we said, the law of attraction is real. You have to define what you would love. But the law of resonance is the most important thing. You have to become that person that is in your dream. You have to identify where your own way of thinking is holding you back so that you can reprogram your mind. I help my clients reprogram their way of thinking. I help them identify their limiting beliefs, notice when they are stuck in that belief system or thinking those thoughts, and help them identify so that they can overcome it. And the reason why we do 12-week programs is because it takes 12 weeks to start to reprogram your way of thinking, feeling, and acting. This isn't just a get better quick. You can't just take a pill to make your life better. You have to do the work. So if you're willing to do the work, I help you and give you the support and the encouragement that you need. But I've also been doing the work. My 7-step system that I teach in the book, I have applied it to my life over the past 10 years, and I've seen it work time and time again. So, yeah.
I wanted to know for a story. Like, you have so many stories in this book, and it's kind of where I was going in the beginning a little bit about one of your stories, because I can pick out a story in here for you to tell, but what's the most meaningful to you in your transition of life?
You know, it's hard. It's hard to pick any one of those. You know, in writing the book and telling the stories about growing up and my sister, you know, kind of criticizing me a lot, and my parents getting divorced, and just all of that really shaped who I am, I guess, as a person. It's made me a lot stronger, a lot more independent, right? And I think that it's given me more power to have a voice. So instead of going into the bad stories, I'd rather share a good story of relocating to South Carolina. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, where it was always kind of gray sky and snowy, and I always wanted to leave this small town. I mean, the town I was raised in has less than 20,000 people. And it was like everybody just kind of did the same. So it's called Sharon, Pennsylvania. It's actually the original Quaker Steak and Lube is in Sharon, Pennsylvania. If you've ever heard of Quaker Steak and Lube, they're now franchises all over the place. But the original one was in Sharon, and I used to work there. But I talk about my father passing away in the book. And my dad and I didn't have the best relationship when I was younger. And so we got closer as I became an adult and my son was in the picture. But on Father's Day, he went into the hospital about 10 years ago with pneumonia. And within 2 days, his lungs and his kidneys had shut down and he was on life support. My sister and I had to make the decision to take him off of life support. And it was very, very hard. When, you know, he was gone, I was on the hospital floor just crying. And when I walked out of the hospital room that day, it was kind of like my whole perspective of life shifted. It can be gone tomorrow. None of us know when our last day is coming. We don't know how it's going to happen, but life flies by in the blink of an eye, and it's very, very short. And so I made the decision after my father passed away to really start living with intention and purpose, and to not allow the fear or my current conditions to hold me back, because it can be gone tomorrow. So that's when I decided that I was going to start taking action and make my dream of moving south and living somewhere with blue skies and sunshine and no snow a reality. I was able to do that because I started taking action. I started applying to jobs and finally got an offer, went to tell my boss that I was going to quit, and he said, "We're going to relocate you." So I said, okay. So I got to stay in the same company.
Wow.
You know, and got relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina. So if, you know, it just goes to show through experience that if you put your mind to something and you're not willing to take no for an answer, and you continue looking for ways to move that dream forward, one baby step, apply to jobs, ask for opportunities, you know, all of those things, you can actually manifest your dreams into reality. And I look outside, it's blue skies, sunshine. I can walk outside in flip-flops pretty much any time of the year.
Yeah.
And I love my life, and I have co-created my life.
That's
and so
awesome.
that is, you know, even if you read the dark stories of my past and the trauma and the problems, and you can relate to those, I want you to also know and relate to the positive side, that you can turn your dreams, your visions into reality. You can live in a place where you would really love to live. You can start your own business. You could write that book. You can be a successful single mother, whatever that might be. But just know that if I can do it, you can do it. So we can all get better.
we can manifest our life to shit too. You know, if we
Absolutely.
keep programming and thinking about the negative things. And what I'm most in awe about you, Carrie, is that all of us go through things. We can't escape this life without issues, obstacles, things not working out. Some people have just more of a negative side to them where, oh, I know I didn't, knew it wasn't going to meant to be. I knew it wasn't going to work out. I put myself out there and it just all collapsed, and see what happened. And no, a lot of people like that. That's what holds us back. And then that's why I kept pushing you, like, what was it about Carrie? And I'm sitting here and you're talking and I'm like, I really think it's your gift.
Oh.
You've been given a gift, you know, and so you're sharing it to help others, because it doesn't come naturally for a lot of people to be
Right.
positive like that.
Yeah, and I'm not always positive. Like, I don't want to paint a fake picture that I'm always positive, because it's really hard. I mean, I coach myself on the principles that I coach my clients on a daily basis. If I notice I'm thinking negative thoughts, I try to pull myself out of them. Like, literally, this morning I was laying in bed, replaying an argument that my boyfriend and I had had. And I realized that my breath was short and my heart was racing. And I was laying there, replaying this argument in my head, and my feelings, you know, like, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to stay stuck in those areas. So I was like, okay, get up out of bed, like, pull yourself out of this rut, Carrie. Because it's how we react to those thoughts and feelings that cause our results. So I could continue to lay there and be stressed out, have anxiety, and then, you know, continue to have a bad day, or I can make the decision to get my butt up and shift my energy so that I can show up better. You know, I try to get better on a daily basis, and that, I think that's, if every single one of us could just try to get better on a daily basis and give yourself some grace. You know, I think we need to give ourselves some grace sometimes. Too many people are hard on themselves. I'm hard on myself too. And I try to give myself grace, and I try to practice as much self-love as possible, and just immerse my attention in areas that are serving versus depleting.
Well, you know, another thing you said in the book was, I was like, oh my gosh, no one's ever said that. You were talking about the childhood and our patterns. And then when you said sometimes it could, I don't know if you said, sway us away more spiritually, we can also go so deep in, like, say if you were raised by someone who is very critical or perfection or need to do this, because I was around that, and it made me look at myself, and the things that you were saying, I was just like, no way. That totally correlates. Like, sometimes I question, am I evaluating this? Am I going so deep that I need to just let go and know that I've already done it, it's fine, just let it go? And that, I think, is really one issue that you brought up that I'd never even thought about before.
Yeah.
'Cause it can
Sometimes
make
we
you
have to.
so hypercritical of yourself that you can't, even if you're aware, you can stay stuck inside. Does that?
It does. In
You
fact,
said it. You're the one that says it better.
well, it's written on my bathroom mirror. So in my bathroom is like my notes to myself, my little affirmations and things. So my note this past week was let go, let God, and be positive. And I use a dry erase marker, and I write it on my mirror, and it's just a reminder. When I look at the mirror, I say, okay, let go, let God, and just focus on being positive. And if you just do that, you'll see, you'll see the effects.
You'll see it start to just start coming in your lives, and that to me becomes so much more motivating. So when I put it into practice and I see it, it just makes me more motivated to continue to it.
And
So,
awareness
thank
is
you
our
so much for coming.
superpower. Sorry. Awareness is our superpower.
No, yes.
When we can become aware in every present moment of the thoughts that are going through my head. And if I notice that they're negative, I want to stop and I want to replace them with positive affirmations, because those negative thoughts are getting you nowhere. They're getting you nowhere
Right.
fast. But if you can
So I started
notice,
practicing that. And
Good.
then I'll say, okay, my affirmations, like if I'm driving and I don't have an affirmation or whatever, I've told my kids this is what we do. Like if I'm feeling sorry for myself and I'm really starting to go down those trails of thoughts, I say, thank you that I'm healthy today. Thank you I'm not sick. Thank you that I love my husband. Thank you that you gave me a husband. Thank you for kids. Thank you for food. Thank you for my car. Thank you for... And I just
Gratitude.
like start with the littlest things and then just go and go. And then you start feeling a shift. Those thoughts go away.
Yep. I am in control of my thoughts.
great.
I am in control of my emotions, right? I am are the two most powerful words you can use. And anytime you say I am, first of all, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake. So that's another science behind affirmations. Why affirmations work is because your subconscious does not know the difference between what's real and what is fake. So the more you say, I am healthy, I am loved, I am grateful, I am in control of my thoughts, I am in control of my emotions, I am so happy and grateful for the money that flows into my life. All of those things your subconscious hears and it's taking note. So the more and more you say those things, the more and more you just program your mind to believe it and attract it.
Amen, sister.
Woo,
I could
woo.
sit here and listen to you preach all day. Let's go.
Thank you so
So,
much. This has been so
this-
amazing.
It's awesome. I'm so happy. I want you back. I want us to keep in touch.
Okay.
I want you to be my coach. I want all the
Yes.
things. But first, I'm going to finish this. And in the back, you have like the little journal, the questions, the worksheets you can work through. It shows you how to do the timelines, how to tag it, release it, all that stuff. So if someone wants to get a hold of you for life coaching session or your 12-week program, what would be the best way that they could get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to carrie-schmidt.com, which is my website. You can sign up for a complimentary strategy session if you're interested in learning more of, how I can help you individually. We set up an hour where I pour into you. So you can go ahead and book that. Just go to carrie-schmidt.com. You can find me on social media at Coach Carrie Schmidt on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the good ones, at Coach Carrie Schmidt.
All of them.
Absolutely. And I'm really, this is my passion. This is my purpose. I went from being a 6-figure, highly successful corporate executive to, owning my own business and doing this coaching. And no matter what, this is what I'm called to do. Every time I work with a client, I do cartwheels after our sessions. It just fills me up. So I'm going to start a group coaching program, in fact. So if one-on-one coaching, if you're not able to do the one-on-one coaching, I have a group coaching program that I'm starting as well. Carrie-schmidt.com.
Like for teens.
In fact, that's really...
Or a group of women.
Yes, I really would love I really want to pour into teens and young adults I just feel like it'll have such a great effect if they could understand and apply these principles that I teach at a younger age. Their life could just drastically be transformed just through the awareness. If you know of any teens, if you know of any high schools, colleges, listeners, please reach out to me. I want to speak to as many people as I can to teach these principles and make an impact. My vision is to reach, teach, and transform over 1 million lives globally by helping raise human consciousness and mental health awareness. That is my vision, and I believe it. I will do it. I can. I will. I am.
I believe you, and I know you will. And I am one of your biggest cheerleaders, girlfriend.
Thank you.
I am so excited to connect with you and know you and see where all of this transpires and grows into. So thank you so much for coming. And again, you are always welcome here, and we will definitely be talking again. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.